Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. Just start by saying I've got a friend's wedding coming up sometime soon. I wish I could remember when, but it's out of town, so I probably will end up having to skip a couple of days somewhere in the coming weeks. But outside of that, we are on a weekend, and you can tell looking at the one-day liquidity charts on Bitcoin there. It's become its lovely little colored blocked self. Now, they've done a good job just evening it out, so that means that pretty much they can flip a coin as to whether they sweep up or sweep down. But like most weekends, they're just building liquidity so that they can take one side and then push into the other. The levels are starting to expand to the upside, so there's now plenty to grab. If you look at the lower time frame liquidity charts, there's plenty to grab up to 127, and 114 has become the new low time frame base for BTC. So I'd say that's pretty much our low time frame range at the moment. SOL, yep. So down to those sort of 200s. We already sort of had a bit of a pullback in SOL, which being a prime day, there aren't too many daily closes to show you. But when we get towards the end of this, I'll show you some of the other stuff that me and a couple others are working on, which will all become things in the future, which will hopefully help you get better entries and know how price is moving around. So this liquidity map here for SOL, we still haven't gone and hit that daily front side hold yet at 238, and we really should. So I don't know what they're waiting for. Maybe they're just building liquidity so that they can do a bit of a sweep down and up. The sweep we've had down to that 224 area was pretty much down to a 1 hour origin level, and then it's bounced off that. There's another sort of opposite level to that at about 228.5, which we're about to hit probably very shortly, and then it will just come down to whether or not it closes over the top of that and then moves into the next sort of sub range up, and it'll have to do that. So it'll have to get above that 228.5 and close over there to be able to get up to this 238 level. But so we'll keep an eye on that. The bottom end of this is sort of down to that 216 area. And if we go and have a look at the 7-day, so numbers pretty much line up on the 7-day, stacked to the downside, and gradually increasing levels into the 240s, sort of appearing to the upside, or 125, etc. And if we look at the 30-day, and this is the one that is really starting to get out of whack. So the 30-day just shows that like SOL could shoot up and hit that 249, 250 area again. And by the time it gets up there, like if you've been watching these videos long enough, it's about what it does when it gets there. It's either a fast rejection down to trap the longs and then push down, or it just starts to hover and build liquidity, and the entire bracket of liquidity then shifts up at the upper level, and then now you're looking at a if you do go down and that's the behavior, then what you end up with is a higher low, and then it has the ability to do a higher high. So yeah, it might be starting to work its way up, in which case some of those 200 areas might then suddenly become off the table. But then if you look at Bitcoin, you would say, well, no, they're not off the table, because unless there's a really big structural shift in the strength of Bitcoin and SOL, then Bitcoin's got so much to grab to the downside. It just seems a little bit weird that it wouldn't go and get it. Okay, so let's look at this from the other perspective. Okay, so yeah, we're starting to get that push up into that 228.5 area, and yeah, you can see we're low time frame, 127 down to 114, and 245 is starting to come into the picture, and 211. There's actually 212's a key level for a few reasons. So this is starting to make sense. It might head down to there and then up to there, or vice versa. but let's have a look at these charts. So SOL strength on the daily, it's pulled back underneath the range trend, and currently where it is, there's no way it can actually break out or break trend today. So it's not exactly bullish. It would imply that if it did have a push up into that 189.19 area, it's more likely to have a rejection. There is going to be some kind of trend here, here, here. So yeah, it's breaking the current interior trend, but the wick on the bottom is long enough that it's going to shift into a supportive position. So yeah, this is implying we're going to get a sweep, or at least a strength sweep. It's going to be able to push up and push down, or down and up, but it's going to live in this little area here until it can actually break out of that, either to the downside or the upside. It's still, in the bigger picture, trying to work its way up to test these hold levels up towards this 200 or 20308 area, or 20015 area. But it's clear they do not want it to go there yet. So you could see a return to the older trend that's running through here, and you could even see a retest of some of these older origin levels, except it really should be, this thing should be moving up, but something doesn't want it to. Okay, looking at the safety assets on the daily. So we didn't get that close below the range, which would have been really good for altcoins. It's pushed up. It is rejecting off the trend. It's not a disastrous place to be. We don't want it to get above 65.41, because then it's going to be on the top side of the trend and be able to come up here and test the break level. All of the main resistance is sort of up in the high 65 areas. I wonder what that's there for. And basically it looks like it's a bounce off that 64.68 backside there. So as long as the trend holds, it should reject. And we haven't confirmed, very subtle, but we haven't confirmed 64.91 as higher time frame support yet. So as long as the trend can actually break down in the next candle or two, then yeah, we should move through to test one of these other parts of the this whole order block down here. So the next test would be something like a 64.5 area or lower, or down to the front side here, which would be 64.32 or lower. So yeah, we just really need this thing to actually not break that trend to the upside, and we need it to at least touch the 64.91% in the next candle, because if it actually closes a candle without actually distributing back to that level, then that confirms that level as a higher time frame support, and the next time it hits it, it'll break through that trend. So it's really on the fence there as to whether or not they want to basically give altcoins a slapping, or whether this is just a temporary pullback before another move up. So looking at the totals. So on the daily, it looks like we might create, so there's a totals excluding BTC, so this is really just more focused on altcoins, but if we close underneath that 1.69 level, it looks like, yeah, 1.69, then we're going to create a hold level. So this pretty much played out exactly as we suspected. It came up to the 1.72. It's rejected off the confirmed high time frame resistance as well as the trend. So that was always a warning, yesterday, is that we had too much stuff here to reject off. One being this particular high time frame resistance created through the failure here, and the other one being the actual trend up here. So yeah, it's more likely that this closes down for the day. Where it gets a little bit more interesting is how much it closes down by. So we're going to most likely create this hold level unless there's a really good pump in the next 2 hours and 20 minutes. But we're also going to create some kind of interior trend. So if it does have a decent pump in the next 2 hours and does not create this hold level, but still stays blue, then it creates a trend. It can bounce off the trend and have another go at attacking this upper level. Alternatively, it's going to close down. Worst case scenario is it closes down, say about 1.68 or more, creates that trend, opens on the wrong side of it, pokes up into the hold level and then dumps. And that's going to see us then have to come down and test some of these lower levels. It's currently sort of finding support on this reverse of this hold level here, which is what's kind of keeping it up. It could well easily come down to, the 1.63 or come down into this front side, back side combination order area down here, which would be more like 161 to 1.59. So yeah, it looks like it's in the position to have a bit of a pullback. So looking at it from the DXY perspective, really nothing changes on this. The trend shifted topside and it's in distribution, so it's not hard closing any of the levels below. So that allows it to just fall down if it wants to. It does create a new interior trend like that, but as you can see, it's basically on the side of that, so it can just open on the wrong side and break down. So you really want to see this thing push up, but it would have to flip to accumulation really to be positive, which means getting over 380.82. So it's looking like it's gearing up for another little leg down. And if we look at it just pure total minus stables, so it's not creating a hold level, so that's positive. I think we shifted that trend yesterday. Yeah, we did. So trend's on the top side. I think I just left that there so we can test if we get a retest of it. Now, once again, it's looking like it's going to open in an area where it might create a trend, but be on the wrong side of it. So that's got the ability then to come back down and retest the prior broken trend. So that's like 3.81. You do have this area here at 3.79 is hard closed now and should act as pretty reasonable support. It should bounce like it bounced that candle there initially before the hard close, so it's now a confirmed flipped level. So you might get another pullback down to there, but should start to find support in that area. I mean, you've got a range trend running through here at about 3.74. You got confirmed high time frame support 3.79. Yeah, it would be a little bit weird for it to be able to push its way all the way through that. So let's have a look at Bitcoin. Okay. So this is going to be a good one. It's either going to, it's a real doji, right? So it's either going to close positive, which would mean anything over, what's the level in there? Anything over 122.184 is going to be a positive candle. Anything below that is going to be a distribution candle, but either way it's a doji candle, which you can't trust them. So if the trend shifts to the top side by closing positive, then you could see a tiny little push up. It wouldn't have to push up much, but you could see a tiny little push up and then a rejection. But if it does that, it is actually hard closing this level here of 120.854, so or 826, I should say. So the rejection may be short-lived, just a dump and then a move. Now, if it closes as a distribution candle, it'll get a new trend coming through here, but it will be instantly on the wrong side of that trend with the ability to come down. and then it won't have hard closed the support level below, and then pretty much it would be looking at shifting down to the next one, or the range trend as the nearest supports. So yeah, it's right on the fence there as to whether we go into a bit of a sweep of liquidity. I think it would be more of a sweep of liquidity than a full reversal, because there's just a lot of support in here now. Okay, let's have a look at SOL. Okie dokie. The Trump trend. I've made it orange. I thought people might like that. So, yeah, we want to be above that. It's really just a good idea not to be closing below that ever. Yeah, we closed below that with a 1 hour candle, and we knocked, what's that? $35 off the price. So that would mean we really want to be up above 229 in the next 2 hours, just to be safe. We also haven't hard closed back into that top accumulation range, so that would mean closing over 231.193 as something that just gives us the ability to have a next sort of bullish step. Where we are now, we're not technically breaking the trend, but we're just dangling off a tree branch, and pretty much the next candle could just open, reject off any of this stuff to the upside. So it could reject off the underside of that Trump trend, reject off the underside of the accumulation level, or reject off the underside of the interior trend, which pretty much makes everything in that 228 to 231 area very, very risky. And if it rejects that, then this is where this, I mentioned that 212 has got some confluence shorter term. So 213 down to 212 down here is the beginning of the daily hold. So we could see a dump from here down to there, quite easily based on how that's looking to close, which just makes a lot of sense given how much liquidity there is to grab on SOL. The only thing that doesn't really make a lot of sense is that liquidity exists on SOL all the way up to this sort of 244 and 250 area, and the high time frame rejection spot for SOL is actually this 249 area across here, and it's very, very much out of sync right now with the rest of the market. So you've got like the total market cap basically hit this area. If you sort of overlaid the two charts, when we hit that 172 trend and high time frame rejection on the daily on the total market cap, that really should have lined up with SOL hitting this 249 to 250 area, but it didn't. For some reason, this thing has just been stuck down here, and yeah, it's possibly just because there's way too many people longing it, and they might just want to take those longs before they actually move up. The next rejection, maybe is going to come later in the process. Like they could take down to here, come back up to here, and then come back to here, and that might be what they're looking to do. The greed is just too strong, and the liquidity is just too strong, and maybe they just want to take those positions before they actually push this thing on that next leg. But either way, it's behaving very strangely. So if it closes where it is, or anything under this orange man trend, which is about 229.5, just to be really safe, or certainly anything under 231.193, or just anything under the ability to be on the top side of the interior trend, which is about that same level. Anything in that sort of area is signaling some kind of bearish sweep coming. Okay, so that is pretty much those dailies. Let's have a look at some of these others, other tokens, and then I'll show you some of the other cool stuff that I'm working on at the moment. Okay, so SUI is just sitting there. So it hit the daily rejection, it pulled back under trend. It's in a distribution range, but it's a very small distribution range compared to the accumulation, so it's not like it's very strong. It does have the ability at this point to be on the wrong side of trend, open up and do a sweep, much like all the other tokens. It's got a couple of older high time frame ranges that are coming through here at that 3.46, 3.45. So it's not the end of the world. The high time frame resistance on this for the daily is still up around 3.82, but before it can get to that, it's really got to break the break level there at 3.68. So the next candle on this may change the trend. There's also sort of a very localized trend, which is that. So that's just purely that one range. And yeah, so it might be able to find a little bit of a push off that because it's going to open sort of on it rather than below it. But the bigger trend, it's not losing or gaining. It's just it'll be the next day that actually makes a difference for that. As for, I closed part of my SOE position just because it had pretty good money in it when it was running into this area up here, and so I'll buy it back if it gets back up over that level and pushes towards the next level, or maybe actually just add some more to it if it comes back down. You know, the range that this is playing with in the daily is the origin of it is down here at 3.19, and the opposite side of it is here at 3.82. So it's kind of just hit that little over 50% mark. So anything, if it pulls back, there is a prior broken trend that's running through at about 3.42. So even if it retests that, like a reclaim of that trend, that might be a good place to add back in. But so he's definitely looking pretty strong overall. It's not really pulling back the same as a lot of the others, and you know, when it moves up, it moves up. So it's looking pretty good. ENA. So I closed some of this just up in these this area up here, and it looks like it's not getting back into this top range. So the next couple of days on this is going to make all the difference. What I'll do with this one is that if it doesn't hold the prior trend in here, which is sort of what it's trying to do, and if it doesn't hold this range trend, or hard close this range trend, I'll probably just add back in on the daily support if it comes down and retest this, which is around that 0.56, and then I'll just TP out on that bounce because yeah, it doesn't look like it's in any kind of position to get through this resistance anytime soon. What you want to see ideally is it break the trend, and it's just too far away from the trend at the moment to do it. So yeah, if it pops back down here, it'll just be a case of up the position sizes again, close it out, and then just wait and see if it actually gets over it. And this has shifted that trend to the top side. Yeah, what's it doing? Not much. It's just kind of compressing between the two trends. So it's probably not too much to do with that at the moment. It did basically exactly what we thought it would do. It bounced off the trend and it went back to the underside of that range running through there. So still looking quite strong, but it may open, or it will open probably on the wrong side of that trend today without shifting it, which means the next push up into resistance, even if it does a real cheeky sweep up into the daily hold level up there, the key thing is that if it sweeps into that hold level, it's doing it from the wrong side of all of this, which is like a trap, and then it could project off that, come back down, and let's see, do we have, we've got the origin level at 19 cents again on the daily, so I mean that 19.4, that might support it. Other than that, it would be able to test a break level or bounce again off a trend around 18.5. So yeah, really this needs to push up, and the close where it is now gives it the ability to have basically a sweep to the upside and then a dump to the downside, and then it would have to establish a new trend and so on and so forth. So yeah, some of these alts are looking a little bit bearish. ZEUS, it's not too bad. It's weekly, so it's still got a day to go, but it's rejecting off the hold level. Yeah, it's still not in a position to buy it. It needs one more week in accumulation above that line without touching it, and then maybe you buy the line at 10 cents. But Cooks, yeah, so yesterday it hard closed the break level at 13934, and it's done a retest of it, so this is healthy. This looks like it's going to be able to move up. Hype on the weekly. Don't quite have the brush on. What's it doing? It's trying to, yeah, one more day. In one more day, it'll be confirming that 42.52 as a high time frame support level. So buying underneath that or at that. Perfect entry on something like this is if it sweeps that level to retest the downsloping range trend, and then you buy on the trend, and then you take your first TP on the backside of that level just in case it attempts to flip it over the period of the week, and you're always going to be able to get out in profits. So that's a pretty nice setup coming on that. ASTER. This is the talk of the town. There's people all over X now trying to point fingers at influencers and saying they took bribes to promote this. And one person was like, I got offered 250K to pump this coin on my channel, and I didn't take it, but everybody who started shilling it these days did, and all these influencer catfights. But what's it up to? So yeah, it's not exactly where you want it to be. I mean, in a perfect world, you want it to be closing up over 2.1440 today. That'd be great. And then you'd be above all the trends, you'd be above the break level, and then it's got the option just to bounce and go up and retest the prior broken trend, which is up here at, it'd be somewhere between, depending on how fast it gets there, somewhere between 2.8 and 2.9. Now it could say close in between and then end up in a little bit of a fight between the trend and the break again, and then you might have another 1 to 2 days before it can really move. Or it could close kind of exactly where it is, which is just under the trend, and then it could try to fight to the downside. And thus far it's been really, really bullish. Like, it's bounced off the wick of the hold candle, and I mentioned in yesterday's video, starting to see this a lot lately, where they're not even reaching the body. So typically entries are taken off the body because it's a greedier part. But the market's just FOMO at the moment. It's not greedy, so everything seems to be bouncing off these wicks. And yeah, it's which by the way means that this as a candle is actually kind of tested. So if it does come back to the body, you'd sort of expect it to go deeper into the body, which could be something like it could hard close yellow today, and then it could initiate a retest of the range trend broken, because this candle didn't technically break the range trend because the corner was on it. So a retest of that range trend broken the next day would sort of be like a deep entry into the greedier parts of the whole candle. So there is confluence in that happening. But yeah, you just really got to see how this thing closes. Last minute pump up on top of that, and then it could just bounce off all of this in here. Bounce off the uptrend, bounce off the reverse trend, bounce off the break level. I love that newfound pause button. I just sneezed twice and nobody got to hear it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. That's just ENA again, just watching lower time frame. What else we got going on? ETH. Okay. Yeah, so ETH is... So this candle closed, created the range trend. This candle pulled back under the range trend, unfortunately, shifted the trend to the top side. But because it pushed back under the range trend, this candle is rejected off it. So it's looking like it wants to lose that break level. If it does that and today creates this interior trend, if it opens on the wrong side, the next candle could push up and touch any of this and then fall back down, maybe do a trend retest of the prior shifted trend. So that's around that 4.3. The actual hold level for this is going to kick in somewhere down here around the 4.256 because you've got a prior origin level here, and that's capable of bouncing the price before it actually gets to the hold candle. So sometimes you wait for entries on these holds, and then you actually find that something back here in the past of relevance actually front runs you. But it's looking, yeah, this would really need to push back up over that 4.496 area, or ideally get above the range trend above that 4.516 area if it really wants to be able to bounce up and test these upper levels in the next candle. Otherwise, it's more likely it's going to have a bit of a pullback. And I think that is it for all those others. So yeah, some of the stuff I've been working on behind the scenes. Yesterday I showed this chart, which is just one of my active day trading charts, and up here we had an area that was capable of reversing price, and it has, and it's come all the way down here. It's hit the target, went a bit lower than the target actually, and that was a move. But the thing that actually found that, and some of the stuff I've been working on, is things like this. So structurally, when we look at TradingView, we see this, and therefore you would look to be taking entries pretty much somewhere between here we go, 231.193 and 234 is sort of where you'd be looking to take your entries. But in actual fact, the price went to 236.876. Now, over here is what the structure actually appears like from the point of view of the exchange. So looking at this, the entry point was actually 236.876. So anyone who was trading SOL the other day and just saw it hit a level and just had a violent reaction, it's because structurally it is different, from an exchange perspective compared to what it is on TradingView. And while the move basically would play out regardless, the more precise entries can be found by actually finding the exchange structure versus the TradingView structure. So just working on stuff like this to be able to actually compare both on a chart, so you can find entries within entries or better points. So this is all going to be part of a bigger package to come later, which I was looking at this one today, which is the 30-day on the exchange versus the 30-day on 31-day, sorry, versus the 31-day on TradingView. So yeah, the 31-day on the exchange is actually in a position where it could effectively break out to price discovery by closing over a lower level than what would be implied by what TradingView is showing. So just going to be keeping an eye on this stuff and just seeing if we can find the patterns in it, which one actually works more so than the others. And there were a couple of really strange trades from last year that just they didn't make sense. There were things like longs that just should have gone long but didn't go long. And by going through some of these timeframes and having a look at them from a different direction, you can actually see that they didn't even exist on the exchange, but they existed on TradingView. So having known that in advance, you just simply wouldn't have taken the trade. And yeah, that's some of the cool stuff that we're working on, and just got to make it user friendly and that kind of thing. But yeah, and a few other tools for automating proper time array trend lines and identifying advanced reversals. So things like as time momentum starts to shift, so from the lowest levels like 3-minute levels and that kind of stuff. So basically tools to find this kind of thing. Here we go, from another screen. So yeah, automatically finding reversal points and plotting the new trends and all that kind of stuff. So it's I don't think where is this? Don't even know what this is doing. It's doing everything by itself. It's quite unnervy. Oh yeah, there it goes. So, and once you can identify the actual origin point of a range, you actually know exactly where your trend should run from. So it's yeah. So watch this space. Some really cool stuff that's probably going to make things pretty easy for people all coming. And yeah, we'll catch you again on the next one. Oh, and hit that like button and put stuff in the comments, even if you don't like it. And if you've got nothing to say, just put a smiley face in there or something, Let's get a heap of comments.